Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rahman Hotel here in our South of Market. I know we're expecting Supervisor Kim. I have Supervisor Farrell that's joined us, and I have a number of people that are all a great part of this story. We'll get into a little more detail in a moment, but today we're using this opportunity to be here at the Rahman Hotel that's owned by one of a number of residential hotel owners in the city that through efforts like Randy Shaw and our and the Tenderloin Housing Clinic, as well as our relationship with our Interfaith Council, we've been working as well with San Francisco Realtors Association in identifying property owners in the city that are willing to work with us on the goal of housing more of our homeless. Not just the brick and mortar, but housing with a hefty support of services that the city is willing to provide. I want to just say something about some of the relationships that we're developing. You know, for years, I think residential hotel owners have been somewhat vilified in the city because they own some of the lowest cost housing in the city. I formed a relationship way back when I was cleaning the streets in front of the residential hotels, working with Clean City Coalition, Tenderloin Housing Clinic, some of our low-income housing activists, that we said, hey, rather than vilify, why don't we find ways to work with our residential homeowners, our property owners, because oftentimes they are the housing of last resort, but we shouldn't treat them that way. We should actually have a solid business relationship with those that own thousands of units that are affordable in the city. Yeah, they're in the middle of the Tenderloin and in South of Market and along 6th Street, but they shouldn't ever be vilified as property owners, because if you form a positive relationship, guess what happens? You turn vacant units in the thousands that have been kept off the market because property owners couldn't figure out how to work with the city, because when they did their own thing, they got sued. And there were citations, and there were planning issues, and there were building inspection issues, and there were drive-by lawsuits. Everything that would keep away an incentive to offer up good housing when people needed it. I think this is a good day to say that we've tried to change that relationship around. Yes, we hold people accountable to quality housing. There should be no bed bugs. There should be hot and cold running water. The elevators should work. But at the same time, we need to also make sure that because it's low income people that live in this housing, that we ought to also make sure that if there are vacancies, we ought to have a business relationship to fill them up. And today, you'll find fewer residential hotel units vacant for that reason, because we're working in a solid relationship with them. And in fact, today's announcement is all about a relationship that we want to enhance. That as we've started this incredible navigation center that Bevan and Public Works has helped me establish with now our human services, Trent and Barbara from the health department, and all of our homeless advocates that are beginning to realize this model is a model that is worth investment in. We're then today announcing some additional investments for the next 2-year budget in the city. That budget will have an incredible $28.9 million of investment to help our homeless population get into supportive housing. And I want to break that down for you, because this is something that has been talked about a lot, and in particular, when I meet with Supervisor Farrell, when I meet with Supervisor Christensen here today, and when I meet with Supervisor Kim, these have been at the top of their lists of discussions with me about how we can do more, but do better with these dollars. Of this $28.9 million, a great part of it, $14.5 million, will go towards 5 residential hotel sites that we are now figuring out how to master lease them. And, you know, a lot of people walk into residential hotels, and they carry with them all the issues that they as individuals have, whether it's lost jobs, some degree of health issues, maybe drug addiction, maybe coming out of incarceration and not finding a supportive place for them to rehab and to get better. And usually the residential owners are on their own to kind of try to deal with this population that's very challenged. Well, as a city, we've learned the hard way that you can't just have that situation come without knowing the consequences are. Then you have some of the challenges that Randy and I are trying to figure out in Tenderloin Housing Clinic. All the housing developers are figuring out is that you've got to have supportive housing for people that is affordable. And so in doing so, when we say we master lease, whether it's one floor or an entire residential hotel, it comes with it a city's investment of supportive services that are reflected in all the people that are standing around with me, from the Interfaith Council to our police department, to our social services, to our health department, mental health as well as health services, to advocates who will work with our Board of Supervisors to make sure the entire package is here. This is a nice day because the Ramon Hotel is about senior housing and people who have been challenged over the years of homelessness. I just got to say congratulations to Oscar and to Gilberto later on. We'll see. It's right here. Gilberto is right here. Two who are moving in to this place today, and they know the feel. And congratulations, by the way. They've been, they can probably go on with you with their own individual stories. They've been homeless for a number of years. In fact, I think 20 years in Gilberto's case, and maybe about 9 years in Oscar's case. Oscar used to be a union member carpenter, and that's important because it's a trade that we all need. And yet, did he deserve to be homeless? Probably not. No, accidents happen, and they happen to the best, and they happen to people that got good, solid skill sets. But things happen, and more of these stories are coming to be true accounts as we review them through our navigation center. Each of these stories become more real and become our stories for everybody that's working together in a navigation center. And so not only welcoming them in here in a good place, that you see some residents out here, they're really proud to be residents of this hotel. It's well kept. It's one of our SRO hotel owners that I said about earlier that we're forming solid ongoing relationships with. But it's also physically right next door to a project that I know Jane, Supervisor Kim, will want to talk about very proudly because she's been instrumental in that. But as I said, all three of these supervisors here are working very closely with me on this topic that is very dear to them. And I know each and every one of them. With Supervisor Mark Farrell, he's specifically about the navigation center and what it's doing there. With Supervisor Kim, who has spent some nights in homeless shelters trying to get the personal experience down and making sure she covers the things that shelters are not doing. With Julie Christensen, who most recently, with me, preventing evictions of our seniors on the border of Chinatown and North Beach, and preventing that successfully, and now making sure that those residents are going to be there to stay for a long, long time on Emery Lane. All three are incredibly committed with me to make sure that we invest properly for our homeless populations. So $14.5 million to master lease out 5 hotels, floors, and units. In fact, a total of 500 units are incredibly a part of this. So when we say to people, if you want to come into the Navigation Center, we've got it backed up by long-term housing. This is the dream that Bevan, we don't just put people in shelters in, we actually are figuring out long-term housing. And the word will spread, and the invitation for other property owners will spread that we need long-term housing to house our homeless. And we will, as a city, figure out ways to support those homeless individuals and families, and we'll get there with the basis of success. And it takes everybody. And that's why I say, and I'm specific about the realtors, about the SRO owners, about the Interfaith Council, about our supervisors, about all the agencies that are working together, because it takes an entire scenario of support in order to make this happen. It doesn't just happen by a declaration that we have to put money into homelessness. It's got to have all these relationships built in to support them, to make sure I can help Oscar find a job down the road so he can himself sustain his ability to be in this place. Increasing staffing to the tune of $1.8 million is part of this $28.9 million. I've got a commitment that those who want to reconnect up with their families through a very successful program that has actually been successful in reaching, helping homeless individuals reach back to their families in the Homeward Bound program. We're investing $2 million in that program to make sure people connect up with people who care about them. If you connect up with a family, whether they're here, whether they're in the region, or whether they're in Mississippi or North Carolina or Florida, if we can connect up with people there, we're going to invest in that opportunity for folks to get back with their families so they can have the more natural support system that works for them. And we've been very successful. In fact, over 9,000 people have reconnected up with their families because we provided that kind of support. And I know this is something that extremely dear to Supervisor Farrell. Talked to me at length about this. And when he talks to me, I have to look up to him. We've heard, and it's true, and it's been verified, again, through the Navigation Center, but also years of work with our public health, is that people have a lot of health issues. And this has caused us to create a 30-bed medical respite center for those that have some severe mental illness. And through our figuring out, through our public health director and her incredible team, $6.6 million will go towards a medical respite center for 30 beds that will help people immediately with their medical condition and help them be more successful in the brick and mortar opportunities that we have. They can't do it without this support. And so we'll have that. We're going even more mobile. We can't just wait for people to come in. People are on the streets, and some people can't navigate their way to the navigation center, if you will. So we have home teams. They work alongside our street hot teams with the police department, with public works, with the human services people and the health people, and we call them home teams because they are able to bring paramedics to where people need them so that we reduce the calls to 911. And this is just a smart way for our fire department paramedics to work with our health officials to bring that to the streets. And so we have a home team to the tune of $1 million as part of this $28.9 million. And finally, we're re-upping our commitment. The Navigation Center was designed as a temporary center. We're going to put money in because that's going to be the site of 125 brand new affordable housing units in 16th and Mission. We're going to find a new home, perhaps another temporary home for our Navigation Center with the help of all of our supportive services, but we're putting money in to the tune of $3 million for that, and we're going to invite some very good philanthropists in the city to join in this effort because it's been successful all around. And when you go there and you see people coming out of it and they're ready to go into their future homes, you know how valuable the Navigation Center is. All of this adds up to a 2-year commitment of $28.9 million. And I want to say that these are times in which not only we can afford, we're making these smart investments in areas where there's proven results. And the proof is in the pudding when you talk to Oscar and Gilberto that they now have homes, but there are thousands of others that are out there, and we have to have a incredibly good foundation for this to happen so that we can invite private investors to work with the Interfaith Council to identify more land that we can put affordable housing on. The realtors are here today, not only as part of this effort, but they're also got incredible program that they have when the homeless get their new housing. The kitchens and oftentimes living utensils and utilities are provided by this incredible charity program that they started with. And so everybody wants to get into helping the city become more successful for everyone. And I want to just thank you for all of the different entities here, from the advocates to the realtors, to the property owners, to the police department, the health and human services and public works, all working at a high level to make our city much more accountable, but also more inviting, so that we're not blaming homeless, we're actually helping them out of homelessness. And this is the way we want to continue doing it, and we're glad to make this investment. With that, let me introduce to you a strong advocate, and that's Supervisor Mark Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. First of all, I think today we need to congratulate Oscar and Gilberto, who's now directly behind me. When we talk about homelessness in San Francisco, it is a challenging issue, because this is an issue that pulls at your heartstrings. It's been an issue that's been in San Francisco for a long time. But today we need to celebrate the victories. And so Oscar and Gilberto, congratulations. Today we celebrate you. We celebrate the promise of what this means in the future. And we need to thank a number of people in this room. There are so many community leaders, from Randy to Michael, Jennifer, and others. But in particular, I want to thank those department heads that are here today that make this work in the city of San Francisco. Barbara Garcia is here from our Department of Public Health, Mohammed Nuru from our Department of Public Works, Trenton Rohr is here from our Human Services agencies. We also work obviously very closely with our police department and others, but it does take a village on this issue, and I thank them so much for their continued work on this. Homelessness is an issue that affects everyone in our city. It affects every single neighborhood, and it affects people in many different ways. But above all else, this is a human issue, and we need to get these individuals and these families off of our streets and into a better life for themselves. And the quickest way and the best way to do this, and it sounds trite, is to house our homeless. And so that's why I think today's announcement by Mayor Lee is such a significant step, and it is a down payment on the future promise of what we're going to do here in San Francisco for our homeless and on our streets. And whether we talk about new housing and the 500 units that Mayor Lee is committing to, or new supportive services, or increasing the staffing ratios from 35 to 1, I cannot emphasize how important that is if we really want to get these individuals not only into housing, but out of supportive housing and on their own 2 feet to be successful in their own lives. And then certainly the medical respite and Project Homeward Bound, which Mayor Lee and I have talked about quite a bit. These are important commitments for the long-term future of our city. I am simply excited to be the budget chair as Mayor Lee announces those, and thank you, Mayor Lee, for your strong commitment on these issues. With that, I want to introduce my colleague who has been the one pushing this medical respite, and someone who has been a real leader on this homeless issue at the Board of Supervisors as well, and that's Supervisor Jane Kim.
Well, first of all, I should welcome everyone to District 6. And most importantly, I want to welcome our 2 newest residents who I will be serving on the Board of Supervisors. It is it's such a pleasure to honor you today. I actually live down the block, so you are actually really my neighbors. And I pass by the Ramon Hotel every day. Raymond knows, and also Mother Jones, who's one of our tenant leaders here. This is a really important corner, and I should just say that our district is absolutely about solutions. Whether it is piloting the first pedestrian safety pilot, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for supporting us on that on 6th and Howard and 6th and Market to make it safer for our residents to walk safely in this neighborhood. Whether it was the acquisition of the United Players Clubhouse, which we announced last week, which will ensure that we are keeping more of our youth out of violent situations and into positive pathways in their life. And of course, actually one of the first liquor stores that we transformed into a healthy corner store right across the street, which is the Soma supermarket. And as the mayor mentioned, soon to be at the famous Hugo Hotel, best known for its defenestration, 67 units of multi-bedroom family affordable housing. Supervisor Farrell and Mayor Lee mentioned the announcement of the medical respite shelter, and that's really what I want to focus my talks on today. Homelessness has been a central issue, as it has been with Supervisor Farrell since I came into office. Many of the residents that I serve do not have homes. I also serve some of our wealthiest residents and our poorest residents. And it is a challenge as a policymaker to figure out the balance of how you serve each one of these individuals with dignity and respect and fairness. I took on this issue and was mentioned I decided to actually spend some nights myself in our shelter system with the support of actually many of the advocates that are in this room that guided me through that process. And it is so different from a site visit. It's so different from even the office hours that I held at Next Door and at Hospitality House. You really got to experience the 12 hours that actually many of our residents experience on a daily basis. And what I saw so clearly was that, for decades we have treated homelessness as it was an economic issue solely, that you were down on your luck, you lost your job, you lost your home, and you just needed a place to stay for 90 days, maybe longer, to get your feet back up. But what I saw in our shelter was vastly different from what we were trying to address. Our residents in our shelter are much older than we think that they are. I was by far one of the youngest people staying at that shelter. And the folks in our shelter are far sicker. Either they came into homelessness because of a physical disability or a mental health issue, or they developed that on the street because it is so traumatic and difficult to live on our streets. No one wants to live on our streets, and we all know that. And I got to really see that firsthand. But what I saw was a complete absence of services actually addressing those very issues in our shelter. I was really grateful to have such a great advocate and visionary in Barbara Garcia, who I spent the last 2 years talking about how we can transform this system, and was able to work with her on finally doing a medical assessment, a snapshot of our shelters at night, so we can actually learn the demographics of the people that stay in our shelter. How old are they? What are they facing in terms of health challenges? And the outcomes are really stark. And probably what many people in this room already knew, but we actually were collecting that data. And then we worked together to say we want to fund nurses finally, not ones that you have to go to because you got sent to the ER and someone called 911, or because you had to figure out a way to get an appointment at a clinic, but we're going to have nurses in our shelters where people are. And I got to visit some of our nurses 2 weeks ago, and I was tremendously moved by the work that they are doing and how overwhelming and challenging it is. One of the nurses told me that the first day she got there, a huge line formed of folks that needed to see her. And really, these are folks that need to see her every single day. And then to talk about more long-term solutions, which I'm most excited about, which is a 24-hour medical respite shelter that will be staffed by nurses, clinicians, and psychologists, a place where we can take some of our sickest individuals off the street to finally get the treatment that they really deserve. So I feel very fortunate to be standing here with public leaders, including our supervisors and the mayor. We are listening to the advocates that have been telling us for years what the solutions are. And we are following up, and we have the revenue, and we're going to be committing those dollars to that. I want to thank our advocates, but also many of our homeless residents for speaking up with so much courage and saying, I deserve a voice in city government. I deserve that my story gets told, and I deserve that those needs get served. And finally, I'm just so grateful to be a part of this community. I'm so excited that it's happening here in the South of Market. And it is now my pleasure to introduce a supervisor that actually is my neighborhood, my neighboring district supervisor. And I know that she is also facing the issues of homelessness in her district as well, Supervisor Julie Christensen.
As Supervisor Farrell said, homelessness impacts every neighborhood in this city. Certainly in my brief time as supervisor, homelessness has been a topic at nearly every meeting, every conversation. And we've discussed a lot the impacts of homelessness on individuals and on our communities. I visited the Navigation Center, I think, in one of my first weeks as supervisor, and I've been pleased to participate in a lot of the discussions about the next steps where we stand today. I think one of the most touching moments in the board chambers has been the testimony of homeless individuals who faced medical problems and had nowhere to go. And so I'm very excited about today, which really represents the confluence of good ideas and innovation, both from city staff and our advocates, with strong support from City Hall, from the mayors and the supervisors, great funding, not only public but also private philanthropy, which is so welcome in this case. And to see the impact that those three things can have when they come together is really encouraging. So my message for our constituents is that yes, something can be done to break chronic homelessness, and it is being done. And we think so much of ourselves in terms of home. You know, where are you from? Where do you live? And so my message to Gilbert and his colleagues are that welcome home. Welcome to a roof over your heads. And I'm so grateful that we've taken this step. And now I would like to introduce another person who's been helpful in making this happen. Michael Pappas is the executive director of the San Francisco Interfaith Council. He also serves on our city's Human Rights Commission. Michael?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and dear friends and colleagues. Over a quarter of a century ago, the city approached faith leaders in the city and said, we have a homeless crisis spun out of control. Would you open your doors and serve meals? So we opened what was called the Emergency Interfaith Winter Shelter, which was only supposed to last a year. Almost 27 years later, we continue to do this, and we do it as a labor of love. But we realize that sheltering is only a part of it. So when the mayor, in recognition of our 25th anniversary, approached us to assist in funding this navigation center, we did our due diligence, but I can say unanimously our board of directors embraced this because we believe that this is long-term solution, long-term housing for those who are in the greatest of need. We've been very blessed to work with Bevan Dufty and his team, Julie Ledbetter and Sam Dodge and Laura, and I'm particularly grateful to Episcopal Community Services for the role that they are playing, and Kathy Trugeri, who is our partner in the Interfaith Winter Shelter. I've been down several times to the site. It is a success story. And I just wanted to mention there was a young lady who's cycling out of the program now. She is a success story too, and she told me for the gift of time that she had there, she was able to get the proper immigration documentation she needed, proper medical services, and long-term housing. That is a testimony to the good work of this program, and we are very proud to have helped in the funding of that. I get probably the greatest privilege today to introduce one of the clients, and that is Wendell Lim Sin.
Hello, everybody. My name is Wendell Simlin. I've probably been homeless on and off maybe like 6 years. It's a lot more better place than a lot of the other places. So you feel a lot more relaxed. You don't have as much of the intimidation factor that you get in some of the other shelters. I wouldn't even call it a shelter because you're welcome to go and come as you please. And that means a lot to a person. You know, because I'm homeless, I shouldn't have to be a criminal. You know, and there I don't feel that way. So I'm saying a lot of other people that are out there looking at this now, they can feel rest assured that a lot of the staff there, they're great. I knew a lot of the other staff from Cap Street. Some of them got hired on to the same company, and we remember those guys, and they were great to us over there. So that's about all I can say, and thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Wendell, Wendell, last name Simlin, Simlin. I know it's a little uncommon, so. Thank you.
No, Wendell is currently a guest at the Navigation Center, so he's in the process of securing housing. And Doug, thank you. And my name is Bevan Dufty. I have the honor to work for the mayor. I'd like everybody who's not part of the press just to smile for a moment, because I just want to say that this is truly my happiest day in 20 years of working for the city. Having the mayor and the city and coming forward with these resources And so many people in this room have fought the fight and have provided leadership, but these resources are going to be transformative to make the Navigation Center a success. I want to acknowledge Episcopal Community Services again. Kathy Trajari is here. Veronica Forbes is the lead case manager who's here, and they are doing the day-to-day work, making this facility a success. Their partner in operating navigation is the Mission Neighborhood Resource Center. Many of you know Lara Guzman, who co-chairs the local homeless coordinating board, and she has led MNRC for 13 years. Are we at 14 years. And so they work in partnership, and they're the ones that make the Navigation Center so special. And then our director, who's a member of the HOPE team, who is overarching and bringing together the city resources that we have to provide between Trent and Barbara and other city departments, animal care and control, along with the services provided by our nonprofits. And that's Julie Ledbetter, who's the director of the Navigation Center, and she's doing an outstanding job. The mayor's announcement today is very exciting, and as he acknowledged, many hotel owners have really been helping us. I would like to acknowledge, and the mayor asked that we invite some of these leaders, but unfortunately there are conventions and other things going on. But I want to acknowledge Larry Mazzola Sr., who is a union leader with the Plumbers Union and Building Trades here in San Francisco, and their trust fund is involved in the ownership of the Civic Center Hotel and Community Housing Partnership, and Alexandra Armenta, the COO, is here, and so the Civic Center Hotel is going to transform, and that's going to help transform that neighborhood, and they'll be working with 71 permanent tenants and adding another 80 units to that. Anil Patel is not able to be with us today, but one of his hotels is coming online. Deepak Patel has been involved with the Baldwin Hotel. We were so fortunate the city got a bonus round of $2.2 million from the federal government, and we're going to match those dollars and the resources that the mayor has described, and that's 190 units of housing. If I could get away from the San Francisco Homeless Outreach Team, all the incredible people who are here, who help not only bring people to navigation, but touch people every day. Lieutenant Mike Nevin is here, and he's a homeless resource officer. He's the lieutenant that oversees the homeless outreach officers throughout the 10 district stations and plays an incredibly important role in partnering. I want to acknowledge that Jennifer Friedenbach is here from the Homeless Coalition, who's an incredible advocate and has had her hands on many. And Mr. Mayor, I have to say she's not done. She still wants to talk to us about family housing and the HESPA ask. So I wouldn't be able to get out of the room, you know. I just want you to know I value my safety. Margot Antonetti is here, who works with Barbara Garcia and leads direct access to housing. And I'm sorry that her colleagues, Joyce Crum and Scott Walton, I don't believe that they're here, but you know, they do the work working for Trent in master leasing the housing, and they do such an incredible job, and it's why we see such housing quality. Mohammed Nuru, as you know, led the team that did the incredibly fast renovation of the Navigation Center. If you haven't been, please come and see it. And in that regard, I just want to thank the anonymous donor once again who gave the money to the San Francisco Interfaith Council. And as speakers have said, we need that type of philanthropy, what Google has done with a $2 million grant to end homelessness. And the HOPE team, which is a very hot group of people. Sam Dodge, who's our deputy director. He's a hometown hero here. Put a suit on today. D. Sheck Snyder, who's our program manager, who does a lot of great work with public housing and housing people. And Christine Keener is here, who's our program assistant. And again, I just want to give Trent Rohrer and his team a shout out. They have so much to do, benefits. They have people on site that are every day connecting people to benefits. And with that, we just want to again thank Oscar and Gilberto. We're so grateful that the San Francisco Association of Realtors has provided welcome kits. We had refrigerators, little fridges that are going into their units, and some other items. And so I do want to say, if there are any other residents in the room, the realtors want to work with everyone. And so if other people have needs, we want to try and work with them. Rodrigo's here, who's a case manager, and just, this is a really happy day, okay? I know when you get up serious and you got the elected officials speaking, and it's about a lot of numbers, but all of us should walk out of here with a big smile, because we're going to change things. And Santiago Lerma is here, our community liaison. Santiago is here. So thank you all so much, and feel free to talk to residents, electeds. We're all here for you.